Professor
Paul
Kurtz.
Kurtz.
Yeah, and
Kurtz.
Yeah. She received the In the Trenches Award at the CFI's 2012 Skeptics Toolbox and the James Randi Award for Skepticism in the Public Interest in 2013. Susan's effort to clean up pseudoscience on Wikipedia and create pages for well-known skeptics has made her a supervillain in the eyes of the paranormal community. She's also known for her work with Operation Bumblebee and Operation Ice Cream Cone. Are you going to be mentioning those tonight?
Yeah.
No. Where she set up a psychic sting. Wow. Susan Gerbeck.
That was great. I love it. Okay, so you're the first audience I'm speaking to on my Australian tour. I think we have 11 lectures to give, and they're all customized. That was terrific. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia is, and yes, I can talk like till tomorrow morning about Operation Bumblebee and Operation Ice Cream Cone and other psychic stings that we've done. Because psychics, or better known as grief vampires, are kind of my thing. It really, really gets under my skin. So today what we're going to be talking about is the GSoW, Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia project. I founded it 4 years ago. It is basically a volunteer group of editors from all over the world, and I have one of my editors here as my proof from all the way from Russia originally. My Russian team leader, Svetlana, is here today for the first time at your meeting, so that's really cool. Super excited. But I have editors in many different languages who work for our project. I train, I mentor, we do everything. I do a lot of the training, I do all of the training that happens in English, and then people come to our forum, they are trained, we spit out Wikipedia pages maybe once every month it takes to get a page completely done. So that's it in a nutshell. Of course, we can answer a lot of questions. But what we're going to get to is we're going to talk about why is it important. Wikipedia is now the 10th most popular website on the internet. So it's really important that that the Wikipedia pages are in really terrific shape, because that's where people are getting their information. So in a nutshell, we're an education group that's trying to re-educate the world. And we're trying to re-educate the world on anything that has to do with scientific skepticism, or science, or the paranormal, that kind of thing. So we touch a lot of different pages. And today we're going to talk about, the example I'm going to give you is on a topic that supposedly you guys have heard a little bit about. It's called facilitated communication. And that is in the news right now in America. There's a Stubblefield case that's going on right now. But in the past, you've had one in Martha Switzer in Queensland. Does that sound familiar? She was a 50-year-old caregiver. She had 24-hour care to a 20-year-old man, and he was severely disabled and mentally incapacitated with autism, unable to talk. She fell in love with him, and things I've written down here I can't say in public, but some of the things she did to him, she molested him sexually. Facilitated communication is whenever the belief that a person is able to communicate only by you holding their hand or maybe their wrist, or maybe you manipulate their shoulder or something, and then there's a keyboard of some sort. Imagine a Ouija board or something where somebody was pushing their hand around. And the ideomotor effect is a very subtle thing that happens when you think you're holding perfectly still, but actually you're guiding things. And that's how a Ouija board basically works. I don't want to go into too much detail on it. I'm going to put up some slides. They're going to show a lot of words on them. Try not to read the words on it. It's only a visual for you, because you're going to get lost in what's there. And trust me, you can go immediately after the lecture and you can go look up the pages that I'm going to be talking about, because they're all on Wikipedia. So, that woman that I was talking about in Queensland, this is 2014 that happened, by the way, and she got an 18-month suspended sentence. So she said that he loved her, and he probably didn't have a clue what was going on. So facilitated communication is a a non-scientific way of communicating with people. They say they're communicating, but it's actually the facilitator that's actually moving their hand and making the communication happen. Here is the Wikipedia page. What we've done is we decided we would probably this page need to be rewritten. So what we've done is we've taken the facilitated communication page and we've broken it down into a lot more readable. Yeah, so don't sit here and read this, you guys. It's much more readable. The first couple paragraphs at the very top of a Wikipedia page are the lead. And we know that people only really read the lead. That's about as far as people get.
You get a little summary.
Yeah, it's the summary of the whole body of the page. So this has to be really, really well written. Everything that needs to be said in this little bit right here. If anybody wants to continue reading, there's a lot more. And here's examples. This is the contents of the Wikipedia page that we have just finished writing. This is only maybe 2-3 months old, maybe 4 months old. There was a page before, but it had a lot of kind of, it wasn't really readable. It had a lot of nonsense on it. It wasn't quite accurate. So this is a rewrite. And you can see there's all kinds of things on here. It has testing that's been done. It has, here we put in all the different cases that have, in a nutshell, some of the cases that have happened with facilitated communication and how they've been resolved. We thought it was important to have the case studies in here because a lot of people find that much more interesting to read. And the whole idea is we want people to try to go through the whole page and get a really good idea of what it is that was what the page is about. So we have all these in, and these are like a paragraph maybe, and everything's cited. So if somebody needs to get more information beyond that, they'll actually be able to go and click on the citations, and they can get more information. There's a case happening right now again that is happening in America. It happened in 2013 in New Jersey. The same kind of thing that happened in Queensland. She's a 50-something-year-old professor of a university back in the East Coast of America. Her client, her caregiver, she's the caregiver of a 33-year-old man who's completely non-communicative. She said that he was so skilled at what he was doing as far as intelligent-wise that she would bring him to conferences as an example of how great facilitated communication works. A lot of these people, they're non-communicative. They may have tested at the capacity of like a 2 or 3-year-old in a lot of ways. Through the facilitated communicator, they're going on and graduating high school, college, whatnot, because it's the facilitator who's controlling what they're doing. So the math and the science and the things that the person supposedly is learning is actually the facilitator doing it. It's crazy that it's gotten as far as it did. But this woman is in the news right now. The case is going on right now. Thankfully, the judge has thrown out will not allow facilitated communication in the court case because she says it's nonsense. So it's still happening where people believe in facilitated communication, but it's actually starting to phase out. It started in Denmark in the 1960s, and then it moved to Australia. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we appreciate that. 1970, 1980. Didn't you guys give us Ken Ham too?
Yeah, but he's from Queensland.
Yeah, can we give him back? Jeez, you guys. Okay, so they came over. The Dutch said, "Get out of here," and they came to Australia in 1970, 1980 with this Rosemary Crosley person.
Yeah.
And then it spread over to America in the 1990s. And that's, I guess, when its height in the 1980s and 1990s. So we also have on here organizations that oppose and the facilitated communication. And here's a nice overview. If you're going to read this when you get home, it should be well written and make sense to anybody who doesn't have a lot of knowledge about facilitated communication. It should flow well and hopefully engage the reader enough that they'll want to read even further. Hopefully look at some of the citations. We always have to have this, we want to have the history of whatever it is we're writing about, in this case, facilitated communication. You can see there's lots of citations here and all these little numbers. They're all to different articles. Then you'll see here's the different organizations that oppose facilitated communication. Again, we thought this was kind of important to have on the Wikipedia page. You've got Psychological Association. You've got Trade Commission. You have Speech Pathology Australia. All sorts of different reputable organizations that oppose it. And we thought that was also really important to have on the page for people to read. Most people who are reading the page of facilitated communication really don't have a lot of information about it. Maybe they're hearing about it in their schools. Maybe they have a child who's severely autistic and somebody has recommended facilitated communication to them. These are proponents, like how long that is, huh? This has a lot of different information about people in our community who have done studies on this.
Susan, is your group engaged in a constant struggle with these proponents?
No.
Do they try and change what you do? So
that's a really good question. I'll answer it in just a second. Yeah, I can answer that in just a second. Critics, here's the second section of that. Tests that have been done on facilitated communication, and we have it on there, how they've been double-blinded and how they failed and so on. This is, it might seem kind of odd that it would be so much detail, but we really want to make sure that everybody who wants to know about facilitated communication is getting the best information they possibly can, answering the questions and so on. And to his question, am I getting a lot of blowback from people in the facilitated communication community about the Wikipedia pages we're writing? And I get this question a lot. In the paranormal community, there's a lot of different people try to change these pages on evolution, on astrology, on homeopathic pages, Mormonism, Scientology. You would be surprised that we have no real problems. We write the pages, and they're so well written that you really can't get your foot into anything and try to do anything with it. Before these pages,
you're winning.
We are winning,
yeah.
And we know that we're winning because I hear from. And not just me, not just the GSoW project, because there's thousands of Wikipedia editors out there. They're doing a fabulous job. We're just one group of maybe 100 people that are doing this together and focusing on scientific skepticism. I have a blog, and anybody who has a blog knows that if you link to the blog, and I look at my history of who's sending me views, I can see the URL of the person who's talking about me, who's saying, hey, go check out this blog. So when I've gone to look at their URLs, I can see they're like creationists or astrologers or homeopaths, and I have probably 8 or 9 blogs that I've collected from these people saying, I'm done. I can't, this is just ridiculous. We can't fight these people anymore. We need to be done with Wikipedia. Obviously, the scientist people have won, and they call us materialist skeptics, by the way. The materialist skeptics have won, and we just might as well just forget it. So we know that we are winning.
We lack spirituality. Is that what
we're just, So we do know what we are winning. There are very few people able to compete with the facts. Wikipedia has very strong rules. So we do once in a while get a homeopath or so coming into the pages, and they're trying to fight what the knowledge is we're putting in there, and they get very upset and they get frustrated because they're not following the rules correctly, so they usually get booted off. We would love to have them come on and really learn the rules and try to understand it, but most of them don't stick around because they don't like the fact that they can't incorporate their information in there like they would want. That example I gave you with facilitated communication, I actually could have done that same exact thing on homeopathy, which we did not write, but we've done a lot of work with the sub-pages of homeopathy, or many other pages as an example of why it's important. I did want to mention this here, that facilitated communication, you have to still, another way of knowing is if it's working. Is this important? Is this important work at all? How many views are we getting to these pages? And facilitated communication, for example, gets about 80,000 views a year, something like that. So we know approximately 80,000 people are viewing the page. We don't know if they're going on, clicking on it and running off, or if they're sitting there reading the whole thing, or if it's the same person looking at it over and over, but we do know that we have an impact because people are reading it. And we're also really interested in seeing if the media right now who's writing about facilitated communication because of this case that's going on in America, if they're copying our parts of our article and pasting it into news sources. We know that happens. We've seen it happen many times. So people who don't think they're getting their information from Wikipedia, if you read the newspaper or you listen to somebody on the news, a journalist or whatever, they got their information from Wikipedia. So that's another reason why the page has to be really terrific, because this information is out there and we need to make sure it's in really great shape. So let me show you one more thing, then we'll go from there. So this is a backwards edit. Now this is something that I have done, and I'm going to pull up the slide. A backwards edit is whenever you take, this is something that how I train. When I train, and you guys can leave here today and not even be a Wikipedia editor, and you can actually go and do this next thing that I'm going to explain to you. You start with a citation, something that's well written, that is in a notable place, like the Australian magazine Skeptic, or Skeptical Inquirer. You could take something like Science News or Astronomy Today or Discover Magazine or Nature, something like that. But we like to focus on the skeptic stuff because it's a little obscure, a little odd. So you can take an article out of here, you find something, and there might be even a small thing in here. It might be a small thing about something simple, and you'll read it over, and what we want you to do is we want you to try to find a way of using that article on Wikipedia. And there's tons of different things. This article right here, this is one of the newer magazines. This one's on the Black Madonna, a folkloric and iconographic investigation by Joe Nickell. So this is an investigation he did on a painting that had a Madonna that's black. And it's a very interesting article. That could be turned around and used on a Wikipedia page pertaining to that subject. Here's another one, Playing with Past Lives, the Virginia Boy and the Dead Marine. It was some case of reincarnation. This is written by Ben Radford, one of my friends. And this article, again, you could turn around, find the Wikipedia article that would be associated with that child's reincarnation, or even the reincarnation page, and you could write 3 or 4 sentences, maybe a whole paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs based on this article. And the way that backwards editing is different from a regular editor is that a normal Wikipedia editor will go to a specific page and then try to find citations to support the page.
I see.
So what I'm teaching people to do is find the citation first and then go to a Wikipedia page and place it on there. It's quicker. You're going to find more obscure things that you've never heard of your entire life. And you're going to put things in places that are just bizarre. Just really some really great things. The reason why these kinds of edits also are real important is not only does it save a lot of time, you can do it really quickly, but because some of the pages that we add the skeptic content to are pages that didn't have skeptic theme to it at all. Like a theater that has had ghost hauntings at. They've got a Wikipedia page that's devoted to the theater, and we can go in and we can write information and put it on there. So somebody will be reading this page about this theater, and they'll go, what's this about a ghost haunting? And then what's this about Skeptical Inquirer magazine? And who's this guy? And they'll click on these other links and they'll learn about the skeptic community because they happen to look at a page on the theater. So I'm going to use this one example of what a backwards edit is. Let's see. So you guys have all heard of homeopathy, right?
Yep.
Okay. Homeopathy is a well-written Wikipedia page. We don't edit this Wikipedia page. It's already well-written. So there's no reason to be messing with it. It's done. There's nothing to really mess with on here. Also, we have written on here right away, it says homeopathy is pseudoscience. Cite. It's not effective for any condition, and no homeopathic symptoms in sick people. Oh, I can't read this. No homeopathic remedy has been proven to be more effective than a placebo. So that's the very first paragraph, and that's on there like that for a reason, because we want to make sure that everybody understands that is that they don't have to read any further. It's like, okay, oh, homeopathic, okay. I thought it was some kind of natural thing. It's like,
homeopaths must hate that.
Water is natural.
The homeopaths must take that. Yeah.
They have to, and they don't like it, but that's the way it is. So we don't really mess with the homeopathic page. This page gets over 100,000 views a month. Okay, so it's obviously in the news. Way down on the bottom of this page, see, I've just scrolled right before your eyes, you didn't even notice it. There's a public opposition page area. So now we put stuff into this public opposition area, and some of the things we've mentioned is the Merseyside Skeptics Society is one of the groups that in the UK, it's the one that invented the 1023 campaign.
Yeah.
That's whenever, and I believe you guys had something to do with the 1023 campaign, so you know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, there's a 1023 Wikipedia page, and there we have some photos up there and some videos up there. We also, the GSoW project also wrote the Wikipedia page for the Merseyside Skeptics Society, because when we do that kind of thing, when they have a Wikipedia page, they're more respectable, they're more notable. When they do something in the media, they get more attention, they're more likely to get people interested in what they're doing. So in here, we've mentioned, let me see if I see where I put this here, the 1023 campaign. Where is it?
Second paragraph.
You can see it. Oh, so we've got James Randy mentioned here right here. 1023 campaign. So we've talked about the Merseyside Skeptics, how they launched this 1023 campaign, encouraging groups to publicly overdose as groups. So we have that on the Wikipedia page that's getting 100,000 views a month. That's going to, then you can actually go to the Wikipedia page for the 1023 campaign. Let's see if I have it here or not. There it is. There's the Wikipedia page for the 1023 campaign. And so hopefully that's bringing views to this. So people will go, oh, well, what's this? And then here's some other videos that we have uploaded to the Wikipedia site so people can actually look at the overdoses in different languages, because these are happening around the world. This bottom one's Dutch. The one above it is Hungarian. And then down here we have some photos. And it's really cool because I took some of these photos. This is my boyfriend right here, and we were overdosing in Monterey, where I live. This is the largest group of people who've ever overdosed in a group, and that was, I took that picture. It was in a conference I'd gone to in Monterey, the Bay Area of California. And there's different ones there. So here's one in Chile, here's one in Norway. So that's real important to be able to have that. Now, okay, you guys all heard of Facebook, right? Twitter?
It's reached Australia.
Yeah, it happens, right? It's that thing that you get the cat videos on. So what happens in our community is we tend to be preaching to the choir. When we go to Facebook, we get this kind of new kind of thing, and we're like, oh, wow, this is great. And you share it with your friends, and that's nice. It's a nice feeling. But I'm more of an activist, and I want to make sure that that article that I'm reading gets out to a place where people are going to see it. And people who don't know anything about it. So one of the things that came out a few years ago was the Center for Inquiry, CFI, had put out a press release challenging the FDA, that's an American organization, Federal Drug Administration, to review regulation of homeopathic drugs. So most people are sharing this article amongst their friends all over the place. What I did is I said, okay, let's see how we can use this. Let's use this. So I took that press release, and I went to the Boreon, I don't know how to say it, Wikipedia page, and this is the people who manufacture homeopathic products. So I went to they're in France, by the way. So I went to their Wikipedia page, and I was able to put on their Wikipedia page the criticism section about CFI. So I'm able to do that kind of thing. Boreon doesn't get a lot of views. It's about 720 views a month. Oh, and I'm wrong about the homeopathy page. I'm sorry. It's only 44,000 a month. Boreon, 720 views a month. That's not a lot, but 720 people are hopefully reading the criticism section of this group. And then I said, well, let's see if we can push it a little farther. And here's a word, and it is starts with an O. And this is a homeopathic preparation. It's used for, I think it's a flu vaccine, if I'm not mistaken. I think if you take this, you don't get the flu.
relieve influenza.
Yeah. So it's anti-flu medicine or whatever. So, so this takes so this is something you could buy at a lot of the little drugstores around town. You take these homeopathic instead of taking a flu shot. You guys call them jabs, right? You get jabbed. I think that's so cute. Vaccinations, yeah, jabs. So instead of doing that, they take this and they say, "Oh, I'm vaccinated." Oh my gosh.
One part of duck apple to 10 to the 400.
It's amazing what it is.
Unbelievable.
So we went to so I was able to put on their Wikipedia page also this CFI's release about challenging them as well. So you'll see it's also on here. So you guys can look these up when you get home. Obviously, don't read them right here, but that Wikipedia page gets about 3,000 views a month. Yes, sir.
I'm told the pronunciation is Osocilium.
All right. Did I get it? Let's have you say that now. So, Mordi Skeptics on Wikipedia is a project that we've been doing for about 4 years. I just barely talked a little bit about it today, what a backwards edit is and why it's important. Another part of things we do a lot on a project called We Got Your Wiki Back. And I didn't really know we were going to be a thing. So when I came up with these names, I didn't really think about it. I thought it was just kind of fun and me and 5 other people would probably care. So now that we have lots and lots of people who care, the project that We Got Your Wiki Back is important to us because when somebody's in the media's eye, we want to make sure that they're getting the most support they can from our community. Nobody's going to go and fix these Wikipedia pages for these people unless it's us, because nobody cares more about the scientists and the people who are actually out there doing the work that they're doing except us. So if we don't have their backs, nobody's going to have their backs. So we go through and we write Wikipedia pages, really well written, great Wikipedia pages for people in our community, the spokespeople around us. We were just talking about it at dinner today. We've written Rachel Dunlap's page. We've written Maynard. We've been working on Richard Saunders' page.
Loretta Merritt.
Yeah, that one's been out for 2 or 3 days. The Jelly Bean Lady. We've just released that. She didn't have a Wikipedia page. I read that and I said, this woman didn't have a Wikipedia page? That's amazing. But when they have the page, we know that when somebody's in the media's eye, let's say they get a media appearance of some sort, a book comes out, they're quoted in something, we can see the Wikipedia stats go up. So we know that people are Googling their name and they're coming up with their Wikipedia page. It's one of the first hits they get and they're reading the Wikipedia page. And damn it, it better be in good shape. Because if it isn't, it's our fault.
So if the media are going to interview somebody like Rachel Dunlop, they'll check her out and they'll look at her Wikipedia page.
And if they have a great, well-written Wikipedia page with photos and all that other stuff on it, then it makes them look more respectable.
Yeah.
And of course, we're not trying to do something that isn't real. I mean, we're not going to make her respectable when she's not. We're just showing that she is. And the pages we write, you can tell the GSoW group has been responsible because they're not dry, boring pages. Ugh. They're readable. They talk about their upbringing, who influenced them when they were growing up, and why they went into science in the first place. And maybe they were going to go into the priesthood the first time, and then they had this really great second grade teacher who talked them into science, and then they changed their path in life, and then they had all these other things that happened to them. We want it to be interesting, not gossipy, but we want it to be interesting and readable so that the person reads through the whole page, and when they get done, they go, wow, I just learned about somebody today or some group today that I didn't know about, and what an amazing person they are. And hopefully they'll click on the other links and go to those and find more information about our community. So basically, that's my presentation in a nutshell. I'm hoping I have a lot of questions from you all.
Oh, great. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, look, just an observation, given that you're involved in the ice cream, ice cream skeptics, when you get to meet Loretta Marin, she'll be the jelly bean lady with the ice cream lady. Get yourself a picture together.
Oh,
That should be really good.
I'll be taking lots of pictures of her with her.
One thing that someone asked before was this issue about, who controls the information on the Wikipedia. It seems to me that one of the bigger one would be the creationism versus evolution sort of thing. I don't know whether there's an article, or it's probably many pages, but presumably the creationists would be very keen to push their, site Genesis verse 1, whatever it happens
Right.
to be, and so forth and so on. I mean, how do you actually, how can you deal with that when they're citing something that maybe we think is a work of fiction rather than a work of fact?
Right. Okay. So that's a great question. How do you really keep off the homeopaths off the homeopath page, and the creationists off of the evolution page, and so on? There are Wikipedia pages that are devoted to the controversy of creationism versus evolution. There's an actual Wikipedia page for that. Just like there's a Wikipedia page for the moon hoax. But if you look at the Earth page, the page for the Earth, there's no criticism on there about us not actually going to the moon or anything like that. So some pages are really just about that. So evolution is just about evolution. I don't think there's criticism on there. There might be a little paragraph saying there's some criticism of evolution. Click here, and then you'll go to another Wikipedia page that's just on the criticism of evolution. And you can just go through all the different problems and the court cases and things like that. They can't seem to get in. Now I'm recording this, so I'll have to be gentle about what I say. But we have learned from years of dealing with the paranormal crowd, and you guys probably know this as well, they don't seem to understand what evidence means. They're not really good at understanding rules. They try to go to the Wikipedia pages and try to change things. They don't follow the correct way of doing things, and then they get banned most of the time because they're not doing it right. They go in and they just start changing things, and that's a no-no. You don't just do that on pages like Homeopathy or Scientology or Mormonism or whatever. You have to go to a talk page and talk about what you're going to change and make it and then do it. We really haven't had much problem. There has been in the past, but the pages we work on, no, we haven't had any problems. We've had a few people who are vested. We did a Wikipedia page for a UFOologist who had died, and we wrote a really great page for him he believed in UFO abduction, and he hypnotized people and stuff like that. But we wanted to get a really well-written page that was fair. And one of his friends or believers or whatever came in and tried to change some things. So we just said, well, do you have a citation for that? And he was trying to quote his own blog, and you can't quote somebody's blog.
Can I raise a procedural question? I'm sorry, the conversation over dinner was so absorbing, I forgot to mention this, but the arrangement that we have with the club here is that we have a 10-minute break, and if we want to, we can go and buy a drink, and then we come back. So would it be okay?
That'd be fabulous.
Would it be okay by you if we had a 10-minute break now?
Yes, go for it.
And then come back and have questions after that?
That'd be great. And then you guys can think of some really stumpers for
I think
me.
the club would be happy.
Yeah, go.
Thank you very much. And there's a bar just out here. You don't have to buy anything.